30 years ago, South Africa was had this moral high. It was occupying the moral high ground at various levels. If you look at the size of the South African economy 30 years ago, South Africa's economy was probably a third or close to a half of the African continent, of the whole of the African continent. Today, it is much, much smaller. South Africa's GDP today is something like less than 0.5% of the world's GDP. We used to be much bigger. So not only did we lose the moral high ground, we also lost the financial high ground. We are a crumbling economy with crumbling infrastructure. We are a small, tiny economy. Even the Russian economy is bigger than the economy of the whole of Africa. So this is not a debate between equals or negotiations between equals. The United States is a big place. South Africa is a minnow. We have to understand that. So we need their market. We have to understand we need their market. And although Donald Trump he might be a bully, but he's by far the biggest and strongest bully on the playground. But there's something else that we have to understand. And that is that Donald Trump has imposed all these these levies on many countries, including on South Africa. But that's not the last and the biggest stick he can use. He can do other things. The fiscal accounts in South Africa have really been mismanaged by the ANC. Approximately 20% of the funding of the fiscal deficit comes from abroad, coming from the Europeans and the Americans. And imagine Donald Trump say, listen, from now on, these pension funds are not allowed to buy South African bonds anymore. The result of that is going to be devastating to the South African economy. I mean, tariffs is a bad thing. And I don't think it's a clever thing to use tariffs because I believe in free trade. But don't think this is the end of his powers. There's a lot more that he can do to damage the South African economy.
So what are the things you think the South African government should do to improve its relationship with America and to ensure that we had greater levels of prosperity?
Mark, I don't think there's an answer to that because I don't think there's anything they can do. And the reason why I think they can't do anything, because like we said, is their starting point is wrong. Because it's not part of their religion. It's not part of their ideology. The ANC is not, maybe if you really force them, they're going to do one or two things. And I can give you a whole list of things that they can do to fix the South African economy, to start improving our relations with just about everybody. Well, you don't have to take sides, but they're not there. They're not going to do it. And our answer is not to get the ANC to do certain things. Our answer in South Africa is to get rid of the ANC. That is the only way out. But the things that we need to do, of course, are things like protect private property rights, encourage and protect free trade, sound money, a safe environment, a clean environment. And that's those sort of stuff are easy to understand, but the ANC is just not there, and they're not going to do that. And so we are wasting our time trying to get them to change their ways because they're not going to, because they are not there. It's not part of their religion. They're not going to change that. They are the ANC, and if you change that, then the reason for their existence will cease to exist. And the real irony is that the ANC trying to centralize everything, but in the process what happens, everything is being decentralized in practice. It's fragmenting. And this actually gets me to this debate about whether the Western Cape should go it alone. I don't think so. Well, why? I don't think it's a good idea to start off with, but why do you want to go it alone? Just do what you're doing currently. Just ignore the central government and do your own thing. And they're doing an excellent job. And many other provinces can do exactly the same. Simply ignore them. And we do it at the local level as well, at various levels, from a micro level, from a security estate level all the way up. So in a very ironic way, the ANC trying to centralize everything actually achieved exactly the opposite. But remember, we're very critical quite often, criticizing organized business and big business for not criticizing government. Why are they so quiet? But you must understand that you're talking about the government in South Africa, the central government expenditure is more than a third of the South African economy. The Minister of Finance, it is a massively powerful man. A third of the economy. And there's no company that can come close to the Minister of Finance. I remember he's got the might of the state behind him as well. So it's not a matter of organized business simply standing up to government. You can't stand up to this. It's certainly not a matter of equals here. But what I do hear is that I hear more and more businesses finding their voices, and more businesses and prominent business people standing up and say, listen, enough is enough. We have to change this. So we hear this now, but don't be too hard. Don't be too harsh on businesses, because this is really, I mean, government, and not only in South Africa, all over the world. If there's a fight between a politician and business, chances are the politician is going to win. That is the reality that we have to understand.